So I know based on the title of this video, you're going to assume that I'm in a relationship. I currently am not. Um, but I wanted to share with you, if you are a person who experienced a lot of dysfunctional relationships in early childhood and you feel like maybe you're not the healthiest person for another person, or maybe certain dysfunctional patterns have followed you into your adult relationships that you really want to work on, or maybe you don't really know that you should be working on if you want your relationships to last. So I want to give you just a couple of tips, one main tip, but maybe more will follow. So I experienced neglect in early childhood. I also had a lot of dishonesty and betrayal, or just like unkept promises in early childhood. I did experience a little bit of bullying, but that's not a here nor there. They weren't necessarily close relationships, but they definitely did affect my sense of self, and therefore also how to the degree to which I allow myself to experience closeness with other people. And so, what I have come to learn as an adult is that in order to heal certain dysfunctional relationship patterns, we need to allow ourselves to be in relationship with other people. And those patterns, habits, ways of navigating conflict, the degree to which you allow yourself to be seen by another person, the vulnerability, those come up and you get to have a better gauge, and you get a more honest reflection by being close to another person. I think it's all good and well to self-reflect in isolation, but there is a limit to how much you can really be honest with yourself. And there's a limit to how much you can actually grow in practical means, by actually seeing the positive effect of you trying to change those behaviors and trying to, how do I say? Like trying to evolve in those habitual patterns of being. So I believe one of the best traits to have when going into relationships, starting a new dynamic, or just as a general life rule, be willing to self-reflect and be willing to change your behavior. If someone says, hey, you've caused me harm, there are a lot of people who don't want to even get close to anyone because they're afraid that they're going to be criticized. They're afraid that they're going to be negatively reflected. And so they don't even try to get close to other people. They don't even try to put themselves out there. And there is so much more growth that comes from the vulnerability of sharing yourself, sharing your heart as you currently are, knowing that inherently as a human being, we all have the capacity to cause harm, intentional or unintentional. But the trait that determines whether or not you can be a healthy, loving, functional relationship is whether or not you can self-reflect and accept when someone says, hey, you've done me wrong. And for you to have the humility to say, oh, okay, what can I do? There was a spider in the room. To say, oh, okay, what can I do to mitigate the risk of causing harm again in the future? And how can I rectify? How can I make this right? How can I make amends for the harm that I've already caused? That is such, I promise you, that trait alone will do so much for your adult relationships, because people are aware that we are able to cause one another harm. But the moment that you put your guard up and you protect your ego, instead of vulnerably listening to someone else say, hey, you've caused me harm, and you say, okay, maybe I'm not as a perfect person as I thought I was, or releasing the concept of being a good or a bad person, like even just living within that that dichotomy, that black and white kind of frame of reference. It doesn't allow you to be a dynamic human being. If you think of yourself as a good person, you won't be able to accept any evidence to the contrary. If you think of yourself as a bad person, you anticipate that you're going to harm and disappoint people, so you don't bother doing any better. So don't think in like, oh, I'm a good or a bad person. Think of it rather as, I'm a human being. I am allowed and permitted to experience relational safety. Although I have the capacity to cause harm, I will make it my intention to do better. I will make it my intention to love in a way that honors both myself and the other person. And this works both in friendships, in romantic relationships, even in work settings. You can have that mindset of, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to do better. I'm willing to hear when I'm wrong, and I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to change. I'm not attached to any certain behavior, and I'm not ashamed to admit when I've made a mistake, which is allowed. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to learn from them. And I think it's a shame that a lot of people close themselves off from ever engaging in relationships because they already either have such a low self-esteem, or their self-esteem is like seemingly high but actually really fragile, and they can't take any information that is contrary to what they believe, or to them believing themselves thinking of themselves as a good person. I don't think people well, actually, the Bible says people are inherently sinful. But if we're speaking in like general social terms, I don't think people are inherently good or bad. I think social conditioning, early relational harm, our presumptions and prejudices, like there's a lot of factors that go into who we are and how we engage with other people who are in the world. So anyways, that actually is just one tip. I thought there would be more to this conversation, but if you have like something more to contribute, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think is fundamental for being in an adult relationship, especially for survivors of early relational harm or childhood relational harm? Yeah, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share the video if you know someone who could benefit from this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. God bless.